all the things, Muslims do this, Muslims do that, Muslims are terrorists, Muslims chain their wives to the kitchen sink and they're not allowed to leave the house. These are all the things you will hear from the kuffar, who have no idea. They have not picked up one Quran in their life. But it is not their fault. As Muslims, it is our fault because we are meant to be out there. Like my brothers from New Zealand, my Muslim brothers from New Zealand said, we need to be out there correcting all the propaganda that has been spread about Muslims, all the lies in the media and Hollywood movies that has been spread about Muslims. We need to show them true Islam and that Allah is a...
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah masih kemudahan, kita masih bisa bertemu lagi. Tentunya masih di channel Motivasi Mualaf dan akan selalu berbagi tentang Kebaikan Mualaf, Menjadi hingga Bermanfaat. Saya mungkin
Shimon Burgess. I grew up in a rural town in New South Wales, Australia. My Islamic name is Hamza, gifted to me by one of the Islamic sisters. I was once the leader of the two largest anti-Islam groups in Australia, the United Patriots Front and Reclaim Australia. These two movements had thousands of members across the country. These two groups I led for quite some time against Islam. I wished to destroy all mosques and remove all Muslims from Australia because I was brainwashed by Zionist media. I'm going to give you one word: lifestyle. And by this I mean a new, pure lifestyle with great values such as stoicism, morality, honor, protectionism, all the things that make this faith so very great, as well as a love for Allah. Now, when I was, best way that I can explain this, when I was a kuffar still, I lived all these sins the kuffar do, I was living them. And because I lived them, I now started investigating into Islam, reading about different quotes from the Quran and different Islamic texts. And then watching videos from Islamic preachers talking about morality and how their women conduct themselves. And I was watching these videos of Muslim women talking about how they should protect their morality and not be sexual objects that men glorify as sex objects. And I was like, wow. And it brought me back to that image when I was in the pub that night of that non-Muslim woman with her butt up in the air and her friends clapping, telling her to get her blood on. I'm like, this woman, this sister, is preaching about morality and decency and morals and protecting herself. And this other one is displaying herself like an open can of dog food for every man in the vicinity of the area. This was a real eye-opener for me. As well as the way the men conduct themselves in Islam. They're not out writing themselves off horribly on alcohol. They're not taking copious amounts of drugs. A practicing Muslim, and when I say this, a practicing Muslim, not a person who calls themselves Muslim by name, but does not conduct themselves as a Muslim, does not follow the values of the Holy Quran. I'm talking about practicing Muslims, the Muslim men. They will pray 5 times a day. They will work out, lift weights and do fight training, keep their body physically fit and strong in case they ever have to defend the Ummah. They will pray, they praise Allah, they thank Allah for everything. They're not wasting their finances on poisoning their bodies. They're not watching mindless droves of pornography. This is the purity of Islam and bringing you back to the right path. People sit there and say many things about Muslims. I heard it all. I used to be one of them that said them myself, being the leader, or former leader, of 2 of the largest anti-Islam groups in Australia. So I heard all the things, Muslims do this, Muslims do that, Muslims are terrorists, Muslims chain their wives to the kitchen sink and they're not allowed to leave the house. These are all the things you will hear from the kuffar, who have no idea. They have not picked up one Quran in their life. But it is not their fault. As Muslims, it is our fault because we are meant to be out there. Like my brothers from New Zealand, my Muslim brothers from New Zealand said, we need to be out there correcting all the propaganda that has been spread about Muslims, all the lies in the media and Hollywood movies that has been spread about Muslims. We need to show them true Islam and that Allah is a beautiful, merciful, thankful God. First of all, I would say it would have been mainstream media indoctrination, portraying Muslims in a bad light, portraying them all as terrorists that want to do nothing but harm people, hurt people, shoot people, behead people, blow them up. This is the image that mainstream media in Western countries have portrayed towards the Muslim community. The other reason is, if you look at any Hollywood movie, the USA and Israel are always the good guys, the Muslims are always the bad guys, they are always the ones trying to kill people, hurt people, and so forth. But this brainwashing is what brought me into the anti-Islam movement. Because in my mind, after receiving this brainwashing, I saw Islam as a direct threat to the Australian way of life, and I saw in my own heart at that time that I had to do something to protect the nation that I lived in. There was nothing further from the truth. There was a lot of hate flowing through me back then, and you must understand that when I had this hate flowing through me, I wanted nothing more than to purge Islam from the shores of Australia completely. My goal at that time, in that period of my life, was to rid the nation of not only just Muslims, but any teaching that could be shared towards anyone about Islam. Because in my mind, they were the enemy. That is what the Western world had taught me. The Western world had taught me that these were evil people out to destroy the West and kill off the West and kill the culture. And this is how I ended up in the anti-Islam movement. And then later on ended up leading two of the largest movements. So, what makes someone like me, who was the biggest opponent of Islam in Australia that you have probably ever seen, turn his life around, discover the truth, and become a Muslim? Hang in tight, because the truth is about to be revealed. Alhamdulillah. Some members of my family were just like, hey, he can do his own thing, whatever. Certain family members did not like it. One of them was my father, a man I actually looked up to greatly. He was very concerned. He said to me, not all of them can be bad, surely. He goes, you have to be very careful doing this sort of stuff. You should really get out of it. You should get out of these anti-Islam movements and not bother with them. At the time, though, I thought, my father does not know what he's talking about. My father should just be quiet. I don't need to listen to him. I know what I know. You know, the media's painting Islam in this light. The media can't be wrong. Hollywood movies are showing them as terrorists. And here I was. Here I was around different family members. Some of them didn't agree. Some of them did. But my father was the one that disagreed the most, more than anybody. Now, this one's the real eye-opener. For the simple fact that I was one of those people who used to drink a lot of alcohol. Used to love partying, used to go out, drink, chase women, pick women up. Something that I was actually very good at, but something that I'm not proud of now. Because the simple fact is there was something missing in my life, and I was filling this void with alcohol, sex, and all these other haram things. Now, one night when I was out with a group of my friends, I was sitting inside a pub. It was very busy, and I was looking around at all these other people inside the pub, and I was listening to some of the conversations that would go on around me. And this is when I really started to think, you know, maybe the Muslims were right. Maybe they were right about staying away from alcohol and drugs and promiscuity and all these other sins that are very haram. Because I started hearing conversations, you know, there was one woman who was turning around, bending over, showing her butt to her friends, and her friends were clapping, saying, yeah, girl, get your on. And I was just disgusted by it. I didn't find it attractive. I thought to myself, that is the last woman I ever want to be in a relationship with or marry, anything like that, who acts like that. And I just sat there and I started looking around, and I was like, look who I'm surrounding myself with. Look at the things that are happening around me in this society. Maybe the Muslims are right. So that's when I really started investigating into Islam. I'm like, what is it that keeps their people under such good moral conduct compared to anyone in the Western's of mine that completely disowned me? They could not handle it. You know, they threw all the insults in the world at me. Oh, so you're going to have 4 wives now, are you? Oh, you're going to trade your car in for a camel? Oh, when are you going to wear a suicide vest and go blow people up? These are the attacks I received online from many people that used to be my friends. Some of my friends were very supportive. They said, "Oh, hey, well, that was a shocker. I didn't see that coming. But as long as you're happy and you feel that this is the path for you, then I'll support you." And I know that these people were my true friends. And this is why I'll definitely stick by them, 100%. Just as I know they'll stick by me of absolute beauty, purity, and love. Oh, and as a male, we cannot forget masculinity. Because we are spiritual, we are loving, we are giving, we are kind, and as Muslim men, we are strong. We have every asset that a man needs to conquer this life. Praise Allah. Because becoming a Muslim was the best thing I ever did. No alcohol, no drugs, no pornography, no degenerate behaviour. None of that. I'm stronger, healthier, I have mental clarity. It has improved my life to no end. And there is no other faith out there that is more grounded than Islam. If you can find one for me, let me know, because I haven't found it. People from white supremacist, neo-Nazi movements and other movements like the LGBTQ that dislike Muslims very, very much. I will say this to you right now. Coming from someone who was probably the biggest Muslim hater in Australia at one stage in my life, if you were going to walk around hating Islam, at least know why you hate it. So I challenge you, pick up the Quran, read it with an open mind, from start to finish, with an open mind. Don't just cherry pick the verses you want to use to attack Muslims. Read it in its entirety. And then, after you do that, watch some speeches online from Muslim preachers on modesty, on morals, on values. Then ask yourself, would this be a healthier life to live? Or going back to the kuffars, where they're smoking bongs, putting needles in their arms, sucking on a meth pipe, drinking alcohol all night, sleeping with their best friend's girlfriend, or their girlfriend sleeping around with their own mates? Is that the lifestyle you want to live? Islam is the truth. And once you study it, you cannot deny it. And it grows in your heart like what?
Dari sangka Subhanallah, seorang pemimpin Pesan, Australia, Muslim Percaya dan ayat Supaya. Ya, beliau Bermanfaat. Alhamdulillah. Kalau memberikan nilai kepada siapa saja, dan itu datang pada orang yang saat ini Islam. Saya awal juga kenapa sudah jauh ini saya senang dan sambil memotor buat yang lainnya dan minta ini kalau pesan itu bukannya seperti mereka tidak sempurna karena kita tempel kita tidak agama kita harus dan sangat penting dunia Dan orang-orang barat tahu kalau Islam itu indah dan saya Islam itu adalah agama satu-satunya agama yang benar, agama yang benar insya Allah. Yang kita video ini silakan like, comment, share, and subscribe. Dan kalau bertemu silakan silakan juga ke kolom komentar. Kita bisa beri rasa kurang ya kita. Agar dapat Hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.